But right now, I believe Edward Halterman is finally on the line, and he is calling in. He's been fishing up there in the northern area around Malibu and some other areas. Edward, is that you?
Hey, how you doing, Philip?
Hey, doing good. Great to have you on the show. And as always, we love to talk to you about your surf fishing exploits as well as your sea bass exploits. You and I have been fishing a long time together, maybe not exactly together, but sharing information for a lot of years, Edward.
Oh, yeah. God, it must be like going on 20 years at least. So, yeah, it's been a lot of good years, man, and a lot of good fishing out here. And you've definitely helped me a lot, that's for sure.
Well, let me tell you, you're going to help me right now and help all our listeners because we got a bunch of surf fishing enthusiasts who are listening in. Where have you been fishing recently?
I've just been doing a Manhattan Beach up to Marina del Rey and, you know, a lot of time in El Segundo and just, you know, walking up and down the beach, kind of looking for the holes and the troughs and trying to find the spots that are holding fish. And, you know, I focus on finding the holes and then, you know, anytime you get the rocks or jetties, you know, they're always around there as well. Exactly. Yeah, that's pretty much what I do, and it's not about staying in one spot. You got to kind of locate them, and then, you know, it's kind of like sea bass fishing the way you got to get them to kind of stop on you, you know. And there's a lot of good ways you can achieve that. So there's some things out there that maybe people don't know about that can really help.
Well, tune us up because I'm glad you mentioned that, the troughs and looking around for structure. How do you identify that, and why is it important?
Well, you know, I mean, I'm still learning it, to be honest with you. But when I look, I just kind of look, as far as holes go, I look at how the waves are kind of breaking, and then the areas where it's really not happening. You can tell if you look at the wave, there's a change in the wave and how it appears, you know, when it rolls over, it doesn't. So those areas usually where it's not rolling over and it's kind of flattening out in a way, that's, you know, the water is dropping into that hole and it just kind of levels it out a little bit and it doesn't
And do you find that the fishing's much better in those areas?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if you can find a big enough one, you know, there's a lot of times. I mean, there could be, you know, hundreds of fish just stocked up in there if you know, it's like the size of a car or something like that, a bigger hole. But you know, that's pretty much what I do, and especially this time of year, I look at the jetties because a lot of times at least from what I've read on and talking to friends and stuff, the perch will like to release their babies near the rocks. So a lot of times those you know, those biggies will be around jetties and such, and anywhere that there's, you know, some boulders in the water there in the surf. So that's kind of what I concentrate on. And then another important trick that probably a lot of people don't know about is if you can find some sand crabs the night before, and you know, a lot of them hopefully, dump some of them in fresh water and then keep some alive, obviously, and you just do that by, you know, throwing them in a bucket with a little salt water on a fish sack over the top or whatever. You don't want to sit them in water because I think that'll kill them because of their bladders and such, or what, you know what I'm saying. But anyway, and what you do with the ones in the freshwater, they're obviously going to die. So when you go out there and try to locate them, when you do locate them, to get them to really stop on you, it's almost like pitching squid, you know, when you see the sea bass. Kind of the same deal, you know, throw a few handfuls of those out there, get them circulating in the water, and that'll kind of keep them on you. So that's a good little trick, you know, that works really well. So some guys might want to try that sometime and, you know, see if it works for them. But that's been working for me pretty good, so.
Interesting. Very, very good. All right. Well, how has fishing been here recently, and where's it been best?
I've been doing best for me personally just down there by the power plant in El Segundo. That whole area has been really good. I've got a couple up to 2 pounds, which isn't huge, but for me, you know, being just kind of learning all this whole thing, so that's pretty fun. I've been getting a few limits here and there. I went on the weekend. It wasn't that great, but picked away at a few of them. I think I ended up with, I don't know, 10 or 12 fish and released almost all of them. I don't usually keep too many. Yeah, so, and then tomorrow we're actually going to head up to Malibu and try up that way and just give that a shot. So I've mostly been focusing down here in El Segundo because it's close and easy, and I can basically walk down there.
Well, make sure you stop in and see Jenny Wiley while you're up there, because she's a darling. I know you talked to her the other day, didn't you?
Oh, Jesus, she's just a wealth of information. I mean, incredible. I just talked to her, and it was really cool because, we have a few mutual friends, of course, you and several other people, and we were kind of trading some stories, and it was really cool. Definitely going to go up there and say hi and check that out when I go up tomorrow.
Now, Edward, I have a question for you, and for guys that are listening, some of these guys roll their eyes at surf fishing for perch. Surf crappie, you like to call them anyway.
That's me, dude.
Yeah, I know. You're the man.
Yeah, and the irony is here's my deal. When I was a kid, I was fishing up in Michigan and Indiana with my grandparents. They had a cottage on a lake, and I learned crappie fishing, and it was really cool being a kid. But as I got bigger, I wanted to get bigger fish, and the littler fish didn't do it for me anymore, so I didn't want to waste my time. But the thing of it is the irony is now as I've gotten older in my life and stuff, and a lot of days where I'm working 14 hours a day and I don't really have time. When I do have time, I decided several weeks ago just to go down and try surf fishing, and it's not that I haven't done it before. It's just, I'm all about sea bass, yellowtail, yellowfin, whatever, that whole thing. But, the irony is when I went down there, it was like, I don't know, I can't explain it. At first I thought it was a joke, and I started calling them surf crappie. And then I started to really freaking enjoy it, just the purity of the fishing part of it, and just being out there and enjoying the whole thing, the bigger picture, not just going out there to catch a sea bass or all these other things. And there's actually an art and a style to it. I mean, it's another thing you got to figure out. It's not, it's not rocket science, but, there's little nuances that, just like anything in life, you have to learn it and then get good at it, These guys
You're so right. And you have touched on a whole bunch of questions that I was going to ask you, but you anticipated them and answered them. But, I mean, you and I in the past, when we've had a conversation, it is about getting to Catalina Island, getting on a big jag of croaker, and, catching straight 40, 50-pound white sea bass. Now, here are the two of us, same thing with me. I mean, there was a time in my life where somebody said, what rod is Phil Friedman's? And Bob Alvarez said, just go up there and find the rod with the biggest hook and the heaviest mono on it, and that's his. I was up in the bow with a 12-0 hook and 80-pound, and if an albacore got its head on me, I was mad. I just wanted to get him. I've gone from that, too, to enjoying, you mentioned it, the purity of surf fishing. And there is an art to it. I know you kind of laughed about that, but the more I get into this, the more I see there is to this, and there are guys who catch more fish because they know more.
Exactly. Some of the old school guys, Fred Oakley and Ron Schmidt, and those guys really know their stuff. And, those are, and I have mutual friends with all those guys and everything, and that's, besides obviously you, Jeannie, and anybody else I talk to, Google, whatever, it's like I just research this and I just use all the knowledge, and, and I'm not going to use everything, obviously, because, there's a lot of guys out there that actually, as an example, will fish the double hook rig on like a, 4 to an 8-ounce sinker. And I've done it, and I've done pretty good with it because, the deal is you got two baits in the water, you got, chances for two fish instead of one. But for me personally, I like to just use a nice Carolina rig with a small, 1/2 ounce to 3/4 ounce, and I want to feel the whole deal. I want the rod in my hand. I want that thing washing around in the hole. I want to feel it get bit. With the heavier weight, you can feel it, but it's just a whole different deal. It's almost like river fishing. But you know what I mean? So that's kind of the deal. But so it's awesome. So I'm really, really into it, and it's been a lot of fun. So.
Have you caught only barred perch up to this time, or have you caught other species?
Well, it was funny because a few years ago I tried to get into this it was probably about 3 years ago, and I went down a couple times and was frustrated, and so I started doing research and caught a few perch here and there, but the one thing that I really wanted to get was the corvinas, and I could not make them eat no matter what. I mean, I just couldn't catch a fish, and then I decided to drop down to like 4-pound test, and one night I went down here, same area, El Segundo. I had 7, released them all, and then I started to learn that. But then as soon as I started to learn it, I got another job, and then I started working 3 jobs. So then that all went to the wayside again. But anyway, so here I am, and back in it again. But this time I'm really, really enjoying it, and I don't think, I think I'm going to leave this thing open now.
Well, good stuff, man. And I hope that you go up to Malibu. I hope you say hi to Jenny for me, but I hope you get up there and catch one of those great big barred perch. And I expect you to check in here next Monday on the Phil Friedman Outdoors Radio Show, the Surf Fishing Show, and let us know how you did, because I got to tell you, I totally enjoyed this segment with you, Edward.
Yeah, and I enjoyed, and I always do, just hanging out with you and talking to you, man. You're awesome, dude.
Well, hey, I wish the Irish were a little more awesome this year.
I heard their bus is still in the parking lot at the BCS, and they haven't got out yet. So I don't think they were ever there, but that's just me. God, that killed me, dude. But I knew that was coming anyway. I figured that would be the deal. But it is what it is, man. Another 10 years, we should be there, right?
Hey, next year they're going to be better. Don't give up hope, man. We're on the right track now, finally. Edward Halterman, everybody. It was another great report, I got to tell you. Edward, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you so much for calling in to Phil Friedman Outdoors Radio. We'll talk to you again next Monday, and good luck in Malibu.
Much love, brother.
All right, Edward Halterman, great report there. No question about that. All right, and I